Hi everyone, welcome to the 2026 astrology for all of the 12 signs. I'm going to talk about each and every sign and what to expect for 2026 in a nutshell for you, basically, just to give you an idea of what to expect this year. If you want more in-depth, detailed analysis, go to my website and book a 2026 year ahead reading where I really go into the details of your chart and what's coming up for you with a combination of all of the astrology month to month and also cards with answering specific questions looking into 2026. This is early release for if you're on Patreon, and if you'd like to join me on Patreon, please come and join. On Patreon, I do post extra content up to around 4 videos extra per month, which is a lot more than I'm posting on YouTube, but I am aiming to post more to YouTube this year. At least I'm going to try for a video a month if I can. Also, there'll be links to my website underneath this video in the description, and also to any social media that you'd like to follow me on. Instagram mostly is what I post on these days, and Patreon. They're the two places, and YouTube. So before I go to each sign, I'm going to just mention one last thing, and that is for if you just want to know just the astrology for 2026 in a very general sense, just in the collective, there is a separate video that I've done that's already on my channel. It's a couple of videos back. You can go to my main channel page and find that on here. So let's get into it for 2026. I'm going to start, of course, with the sign of Aries. So Aries, this is a huge, huge year for Aries because Saturn and Neptune both finally make their full transit into the sign of Aries. So your sign, what does that mean for you? Big life changes, Aries. Now, which areas are going to be most affected? Anyone that has anything up to 14 degrees or so, 14, 15 degrees of Aries in 2026. If you've got after that, it's going to be for you in terms of the bigger changes in 2027. So, really I'm speaking to for Aries in this particular, brief rundown, the early born Aries people and the mid-born Aries people. So this is a year when you will experience a lot of change in your life, and you will notice that you're being called to go forward to a new path. And you would have had feelings about that already in 2025. So this is not going to be, I don't think, a shock. It's not like Uranus is shocking you. It's Saturn and Neptune, which are slow energies that have been percolating in your consciousness. Neptune has been really twigging on the level of your intuition, Aries, prompting you forward. And Saturn has been saying, I am tired of this. It's time to make a change. So whatever that may be, look, for some Aries, it's going to be your whole life is going to be changing. It could be where you live, relationship, career. Some Aries might be relocating, overseas, or having just a huge change. So, if you've been feeling this and you're going through this, know that there is a meant to be element. And again, I'm speaking to early born Aries through to mid born Aries for 2026 because of where Saturn is in particular and Neptune are transiting. Okay. So, yeah, expect some changes, some big changes. And with Saturn, it's restructuring your reality. So it can feel a bit daunting, of course, because Saturn is in Aries. So when it's in Aries, it's in fall position, which is much harder than if it was Saturn in a well-placed position. And so it is asking you to be courageous and step into your true sense of your identity of who you are and move forward now. So there is possibly a lot of work involved in making these changes. So think about it. If you're going to change your career completely, if you're going to relocate overseas, if you're going to leave a long relationship that you've been in, you've set up your reality in a particular way that you've become accustomed to. And so this means that there is also, with Neptune involved, a dissolving of elements of your reality. And it is in your first house here in the solar chart. This is the solar astrological chart. The equal house system is what is used for these particular snapshot type readings. When I look at your chart, I use Placidus, which is much more nuanced and much more in depth and much better for predictions. But this is just, like I say, to give you a snapshot. So early born Aries people or early to mid born Aries people will resonate with this feeling that I've really got to make some serious changes. And yes, I'm daunted by it, but I just know it's time. It is coming. So Huge, huge change. What else have you got going on? Look, you've got Pluto supporting you, which is great. So Pluto in Aquarius here, you can see this up here in the chart. Um, Pluto in Aquarius is sextiling for Aries, which is a harmonious aspect. And what that indicates is that with a little bit of effort on your part, you have this support from the universe in the background there in your psychology, in your deeper sense of yourself, and your deeper intuition, your deeper knowing as well. So Neptune is, also your intuition. It's just something that's calling you and you can't really put a finger on it. But the Pluto energy is more psychological, where it's like, okay, I know I have to do this. So I'm going to level up. I'm going to push myself that little bit and see what step-by-step strategic changes I can make. And with Pluto making that sextile, it's really is supporting the changes in the background. So that's a good thing that you've got on your side. Uranus in Gemini is also helpful because also again sextile aspect. So that is helping you to, I would say, kind of unlock yourself out of situations where you've been feeling trapped in some way, Aries. So some Aries have been feeling trapped in the job situation, in the career, in a relationship, in a marriage, or in some other long-term situation, living situation, whatever it may be. And Uranus in Gemini is giving you ideas. It's giving you a psychological incentive. And it's almost like giving you an inner pep talk to say, you need this change. You need this change. It's time. And it's helping you to move. It's helping you to kind of rattle this energy to get things moving. So yeah, it's good for you. Now, uh, uh, Uranus only gets to around five degrees or so in 2026. So those again, early born Aries will um, benefit most from that, and also same with Pluto energy. So if you are a later born Aries, don't worry, there is still information for you coming up with the Jupiter in Leo that's coming up. So I'll talk about that next. All right, so Jupiter is in between two signs this year in 2026. So for Aries, that is in between your fourth solar house and your fifth solar house of romance, so and children and having a bit more fun. So first part of the year, so up to around June, July, Jupiter will still be in Cancer, so that's where you have kind of things being quite sort of comfortable in some way in the home situation, but it could also be where because it's squaring to Aries, it might be something where you feel like something is out of balance in some way, or you're being pushed to grow in the area of home life and also in your emotions, because the fourth house is your deeper inner self, your deeper emotions, the most private part of your emotions. So something has been getting stirred up emotionally quite a bit for you. And what you'll notice is once you get to July, August, when Jupiter starts to shift into Leo, that's when you get more benefits because then that's a trine, obviously, from a fellow fire energy to your fire sign self. It's a trine aspect. So it's going to be helpful to you. And some areas will be blossoming in a new relationship or find that you're able to just let loose and enjoy your life a little bit more from the second half of 2026. And this is for all of Aries because it does cover a lot of range of degrees while it's in Leo um, in 2026. So, you all Aries will get to experience the benefits of Jupiter in Leo, fellow fire sign. So expect a bit more fun to be had the second half of the year. The first half of the year might be a bit more challenging with transitions going on in your life, changes, big changes that you're going through. But with the Jupiter going to the fifth house, solar house with Leo, harmonizing with you nicely, it is helping you to adjust to the changes by bringing in this element of romance or fun. And, maybe taking on new hobbies is a potential for Aries, or doing something. Fifth house is also entrepreneurship. So for some Aries, you might be starting a new business or wanting to start a new business, and it is supported with that. So yeah, it's a time where Aries could second half of the year have a new romance, new business, or both of those things could be happening, but it's definitely time for you to have a bit more fun, Aries. So that's a quick rundown for Aries. I'm going to move on to Taurus now. All right, Taurus, let me just sip my coffee for this before I get into it. There's a lot going on. So, with the big news, as I've got written on the side of the screen on the right side, is Chiron enters Taurus from June 20th, indicating a long-term period of healing old wounds It can be a confrontational energy. It can be a difficult energy, especially Taurus sun, yes, rising, of course. But if you've got Taurus moon, it could be a bit more emotionally difficult for you, okay? And keep in mind, though, this only affects very early born Taurus. So you'd literally have to have between 0 to 2 degrees to feel this, maybe 3 degrees to feel this in 2026, because Chiron moves very, very slowly. Um, so really, for the Chiron aspect, look, a lot of Taurians may feel it. Sometimes when there's a big changeover like this, even if you have middle or later degrees, you could still feel something like, oh, why am I feeling vulnerable all of a sudden? Why am I feeling like I'm facing a fear with all this that's going on? Any Taurian could feel it, but in terms of being impactful enough to really see things going on in your life that are immediate and in your face, and definitely things that you have to deal with right then and there, it's only for very early born. Okay. So if you've got 0 to 2 or 3 degrees, or if you're born on the first couple of days of Taurus. So, or the first few days of Taurus. So this is changing your identity in some way, Taurus. Es- yeah, especially for Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising, it's more so the identity and who you feel that you are on a fundamental is shifting. There could be things that you're going to be experiencing that cause you to confront some deep, really deep issues around security, stability, money, creativity, self-worth, in particular, and how you love and how you receive love as well. That's very much a Venus ruled, obviously Taurus being Venus ruled theme. So this could encompass relationships and finances for a lot of Taurians. And if you've got early degree Taurus moon, just be cautious with this energy. If you're in any kind of unsafe home situation or something, you really need to take this one seriously, because it can be extremely impactful. And listen to your intuition with your situation that you're in, especially Taurus moon and a little bit Taurus sun has to be, a bit more cautious. It's not time to throw caution to the wind when you have Chiron directly on something. And like I say, only early born Tauruses for that. Um, in the strongest energy of it anyway. Saturn and Neptune go further into your 12th house, especially for Taurus rising. All Tauruses may feel this in some way, though. Again, if you want your actual chart, Placidus chart, Western tropical, analyzed in proper nuance, detail, and in depth, you can book a private reading with me. This the solar astrology, which uses the equal house system and is more of a generalized, prediction, but it definitely will have influence, but it's not as detailed as your personal chart. So if you want to book with me, check the website link below. So you have Uranus in Gemini in your second house of finances. So there could be some sudden changes on the job, sudden changes with how you earn your money. Maybe a job opportunity comes up completely out of the blue and you just go with it and you're like, okay, I'm on this new working path situation. Maybe there's sudden changes in your appearance, because first house is appearance, second house is physical body as well. So maybe there's something with that for some, but also it's your values and your self-worth. So there could be some shakeups going on for Taurians around self-worth and what you value. Maybe you've got a different set of ideas coming in about what it is that's important to you. Being Uranian in nature, that could be more around independence and what it is that you think about your values versus other people's values, relationships, self-worth in relationships, and also it could be where second house is very much material things as well. So you may suddenly get rid of old items at some stage during the year and think, I don't need these things anymore. They're just cluttering my mind. So it's more of a psychological, mental thing where you think, I just want to be able to think clearly and have minimalism around me so I can navigate the next stages. So there's that. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is making a square, which is a tense, difficult angle to those born early degrees. So anything from 0 to around 5 or 6 degrees will feel that this year of Taurus. So yeah, early born Tauruses, you're getting the square from Pluto, which means there's some kind of power struggles that you're adjusting or dealing with. And this is in the areas to do with authority figures. So it could be bosses, parents, changes going on either in the career area, the career space, maybe wanting to change your career, but you feel a bit blocked with it. You wanting to get through some kind of last phase of a challenge. and you're having to be very patient, and it could be a bit wearing on those early born Tauruses as well. And mid to late born Tauruses are not experiencing this though, so because Pluto will be in early degrees for a while. And Jupiter is pretty harmonious for Taurus. So in for the first half of the year up to around July, Jupiter is in Cancer, so that's blessing Tauruses with a sextile aspect. So this can bring a little bit of ease in some aspects of your reality, and it can help smooth the way through support from friends, through support from siblings, other relatives, communications in your daily life. Yeah, just third house energies, which is like the day to day, can be helpful to you in small ways. It's a sextile, so it's more of a gentle, supportive aspect. And then from the second half of the year, when Jupiter moves into Leo, that is for Taurus rising in particular, going to bring a bit more positive energy to your home life and family stuff, your emotions. So there could be a bit of a boost then. Because it's a square aspect, though, it just means be careful of overindulgence or too much of a good thing, or becoming a little bit lazy and wanting to just, maybe you're enjoying your home space a lot, and you're bringing in some enhancements to your home space, which is a good thing. Some Taurus risings could move with Jupiter going through the fourth house the second half of the year, and or have some blessings in the home where you've got a bit more abundance. You can buy that new couch, that new whatever for your home, decorate your home in a new way, have this creative flair. Also, it can indicate for the second half of the year where your relationships with your family members are better. So if you've had strained relationships, you can find an improvement from the second half of the year for Taurus in the family relationships and all those people that you happen to live with, whether that's family or other people, depending on your situation. But with a square to Taurus, just be aware of overindulgence. That's just something to watch out for, because it tends to be where you say yes to everything, take on too much, having too many people over too frequently, and you're starting to feel a bit drained by it, overcommitting because of enthusiasm. So just watch out for that. So that's a rundown for Taurus. Let's move on to Gemini. So Gemini, you've got Uranus in Gemini, which is a long-term influence. It's going to be there for quite a number of years yet. So those affected in 2026 are, yeah, up to around 5 degrees also of Gemini. So 5 or 6 degrees of Gemini. So look, Geminis, this is shaking up your reality, with Gemini, with Uranus in your actual sign in your first house here, especially Gemini rising. There, expect some changes to your path. Expect to feel a little bit restless. You would have had a taste of that already in 2025, and it's increasing in 2026, where because in 2025 Uranus did retrograde back to the latter degrees of Taurus, but once we get to 2026, it goes fully into Gemini. So these changes that are happening for your life, Gemini, are going to be that if you sensed a bit of a shift going on in 25, that shift is really going to take on a whole new vibe for you in 2026 and liberate you. Keywords for Uranus are liberation, shocks of the unexpected, and new things coming in, new energies and freedom. And there is change as well. Uranus is a change agent. It is an awakening energy. So you could be going through something on the level of your mind, your outlook on life, what you want to do with your life. That's really going up a gear. And I would say for Gemini, expect 2026 to be a very fast-paced year. If you felt 2025 was fast-paced, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, depending. But this year of 2026 is going to go a lot faster. So strap yourselves in, Gemini, for lots of change and liberation. And I think, for a lot of Geminis, there may have been situations that you were vacillating, or maybe you felt stuck in, whether it was career or relationships, whatever it was, living situation, whatever it could be for you personally, depending on your actual personal chart. And I think, once this kicks into gear in 2026, which, once we get into, I believe it's April, the end of April, where Uranus fully goes into Gemini, that's when things are going to be in a full forward motion and like hyper speed. So yeah, your nervous system could have already been feeling, if you're early born Gemini, you would have felt this in 2025. Your nervous system's highly charged up and a bit zappy energy. So you could have had trouble sleeping and things like that. If you're mid to later born Gemini, you won't really experience the most of this energy until, next year's upcoming. But like I say, if you're 0 to 6, 7 degrees, you'll feel it in 2026 quite strongly. You're 0 to 5 degrees, it's really going to make the changes this year. So really strong. Um, yeah, so you guys are moving forward with lots of change. It's good. It's very, very good. And you're going to feel different. You're going to feel like a different kind of Gemini, like different to how you felt in the last few years. Let's see what else is going on for you. Chiron is going to dip into your 12th solar house. So that could signify facing some subconscious fears or finally starting to do, again, early born Geminis are more so going to feel this, starting to do the work on a deeper level of your subconscious self that maybe has been something that's been quite subterranean for a while, or something that's from the past that you haven't really delved too much into, in terms of the level of healing that's needed. Okay. So it's not to say that you haven't thought about it or you haven't, processed certain things, but it's like what I'm trying to say is for early to 0 to 5 degrees Geminis are going to feel this as some kind of deepening of your healing. And this could come in any way. In the sign of Taurus, it's around the physical self, the physical vehicle, throat chakra, communication, because Taurus rules the neck, sensuality, physical expressions of love, your money, your self-worth, and your stability on some deeper level. So that's really quite powerful. Now, Pluto here in Aquarius has been blessing Geminis with a beautiful trine. So you will continue to have this energy go on. So again, the early born Geminis are going to feel this most in 2026. 0 to 5 or 6 degrees will get this trine, which is empowering to you. It gives you a depth of your perception and insight on situations. Doesn't mean you're right about everything, but it just means that where you're focusing your energy, you're really getting some good intuitive hits and you're really tapping into something that's allowing you to focus your mind in a way that's going to be brilliant for, Geminis love to learn new things. So anything you have to learn, your mind is going to be very on point. You're very capable. If you're starting a new job, if you're starting a new course of study, if you're doing anything that requires psychological elements of focus and learning or perception, depth, or communication, you've got extra levels of support here from Pluto in Aquarius trining you. And it's an empowering energy. So it's really helpful to you. So you have Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house of friends and groups. So you could find that, like, for example, work groups are a bit difficult, or dealing with the public, is difficult because of this energy. It may feel simultaneously restrictive and also confusing, nebulous, or energetically challenging. Okay, so you might shy away from too much involvement with the public or with groups at this time. You may more want to be kind of spending time in things that make you feel secure and things that you feel comfortable and good at. That said, Uranus is shaking you out of your comfort zone, but I think that's going to be in a separate way towards this energy of dealing with the public. The empowering energy is coming from your ninth house that's the ninth house with Pluto. So that's the mind. So again, studies, overseas travel too, your spiritual life, anything to do with meditation, self-awareness, expansion of your mind is blessed as well. Let's talk about Jupiter. So Jupiter in Cancer and Jupiter in Leo. So first half of the year up to around July, end of July, Jupiter is in Cancer. That's blessing your money sector. So this is a time for Geminis when you can earn more money on the job. Okay. So you might have already seen a bit of this in 2025. It's quite strong in 2026. And then once we get to around August, Jupiter goes into Leo, which is a sextile to your Gemini energy. So again, supportive. And that's in your third house of your daily life, your communications with people, short trips and adventures, connecting with friends, siblings, relatives, if it's in your local area, or making friends with people in your local area. enjoying spending time in your local area with people that you know in your local area, having better relationships with neighbors, having better relationships with siblings potentially. So if you've had a falling out with siblings or other relatives, it could actually improve by the second half of the year in some way. You know, it might not be in the biggest way ever, but it might just be in some way that you notice is not as heavy as it's been previously, say for example. So that's Gemini. Let's move on. All right, so we've got the sign of Cancer here. So, Cancer, Jupiter continues its transit through Cancer until June 30th. Make the most of this time of growth in your life. So, for Cancers, you would have experienced this in 2025. A lot of Cancers would have already experienced this energy as beneficial and some kind of new beginning that's to do with Cancerian themes like home, family, stability. You may have moved, you may have bought a home, or you may be in the process of looking at that in 2026. So that's very exciting when you have Jupiter in your sign. It can make you more emotional. That's true. But it brings in this energy where you want to grow and you feel like it's time to grow now. So you would have been pushing for some kind of growth, change, or it's just been happening for you. And some Cancerians have been expanding the family or setting up their life to expand the family, pregnancies, childbirth, these type of energies can be strongly around you until June 30th. And then July, August, the energy shifts from Jupiter in Cancer to Jupiter in Leo. And that's your second house of earned money. So expect a boost to your income for after, from July, August onwards. And you've got this positive energy in your earned money sector for the rest of 2026 and a little bit into 2027. So that's going to help you if you've been, expanding your family, expanding your home to have the money, the extra money to be able to put towards the things that you need to put towards on this new path. A lot of Cancers have been going through this level up energy in their life, but like I say, there's probably been a bit more emotion that goes with it, but and focus on family and those closest to you. But at the same time, it's a positive thing because it's really just it's asking you to go to the next level of your life, Cancerians, and that's what's happening here. Uranus in Gemini has been shaking up your 12th house in your subconscious mind. So, you could have had some really strange random dreams about friends or people in your local area, siblings, neighbors, children. With Uranus in Gemini, it's in the 12th house. It could be where you want to be more creative or you're being inspired by creativity in some way, but you maybe not sure how to apply it yet, that kind of energy. Um, Pay attention to your intuitive side because this could be where you just get sudden ideas or you are doing things suddenly and it's just being inspired by, these downloads that you might be getting or opening up psychically. Telepathically, absolutely could be where you just suddenly think of a friend and then they contact you, that type of energy. Or you're getting signs and messages a lot from the universe around you, and you're like, oh, wow, I was just thinking about that. And the next day, you're like, get this really strong sign. So pay attention to those things because there's a lot of activation in this part of your chart. There could be reconnecting with friends from the past for some, but only if they're going to be on your path with your, towards your future in some way. Chiron starts to dip in. This is more for early Cancerians to your 11th house of friends. So you might start to, from around June, when Chiron goes into Taurus, start to think, are these friends or contacts really beneficial to me or are they hurtful to me? And starting to think about who you really want as part of your group, or your other circle in your life. Saturn and Neptune continue to be in the space of authority figures, parents, bosses, and things of that nature. So that this could be where you've been having a bit of a harsh energy because it is square from Saturn and Neptune in Aries to Cancerian energy. So that square could be where you've been feeling troubled by bosses or parents or a parent for whatever the reason may be. Saturn tends to be an authoritative energy. Neptune tends to be a dissolving, undermining sometimes energy. This, yeah, would have been challenging and continues to bring some challenges. So just be mindful when you're dealing with people in authority and bosses, have those boundaries with them because it could be where they're pushing your buttons or they're trying to get more out of you in a way that feels uncomfortable. So yeah, just something to be aware of. Saturn tends to be more father figure energy. For some Cancerians, there could be issues with a father or a grandparent or something of that nature, or a dominant parent. If you've got a parent that's got Aries energy, possibly, it could be that their energy is feeling harsh towards you. It has been in 2025 and continues to feel that way for some Cancerians in 2026. Um, Pluto's in Aquarius in your eighth solar house. So that is shaking up, not shaking up, that is bringing deep psychological changes to how you see your money situation. And it could be really intense around what you're investing your money in. It could be daunting. You could be facing fears around how you're investing, how you're sharing money. Say if you're going into a partnership with someone and you're, sharing bank account or something like that because you're married. Say, for example, could be that, could be you're taking out a big loan and it's really daunting. Or you're investing in something that's like a long-term investment. You're like, wow, this is going to be a long-term commitment financially. Something like that could be coming up for Cancerians. For some would have seen it already in 2025, and for others it's in 2026 and onwards. Um, Second half of the year, so from July, August, Jupiter goes into Leo, which is your second house. I don't know if I already said that, but it is going to, yeah, I did already said that. It's going to bring more money. Sorry, I've already done. I feel like doing these consecutively, there's a lot of information. So I forgot I'd already said that. So it's a good money year for most Cancerians. And moving on, Leo. Well, lucky Leo, from July 1st, 2026, Jupiter goes into your sign and brings you a lot more buoyancy, excitement, enthusiasm, passion for life. And, Leo's already passionate, but this like brings another level of some kind of new experiences. So you might do new things in 2026, Leo, with Jupiter in your first house. And, you could travel, you could start a new business, you could expand your life path in some way, you could get married, you could have children, you just could see like a lot of changes and you could feel more confident. And I mean, Leo's already confident, but this Jupiter going into Leo is just going to boost that to another level. So if you've been a sad lion or if you've been a Leo that's struggling in some way, I do know one Leo that's having some struggles, health struggles. This could help you. This could help you break free from previous limitations that have been painful or hard and bring a bit more levity to your life and also abundance, by the way. So this is very lucky also financially for you this year and into next year, into 2027 as well. Remember, it lasts a year. So Jupiter will be in Leo from July 1st through to around July 2027, June, July 2027. So it's a whole year of blessings, lucky Leos. And this is a time to grow, Leo. If you've been stagnant, if you've been stuck in any way, it's a time to take a risk in a new direction and experience more joy and more fun and self-expression on another level. So depends what you're doing with your life. If you're in business, you might find new ways to express your creative side in your business, or you could be in a very productive time of your life from July 1st, 2026, where you're putting out a lot more creative content. Say if you're in business, depending what that is. If you're an artist, you might start painting more frequently. If you're a writer, or if you're on social media, you might be putting out a lot more stuff or doing it in a new way that's really exciting. So looks good, really good. Uranus in Gemini, which is harmonious to Leo, is in your 11th house of group connections, friendships, and social contacts, as well as the public. So this could be where there's new developments, connections, experiences to be had through connecting with the public, through what you're putting out and what you're receiving back. There could be unexpected news, unexpected communications from friends, from work colleagues, from group associations, unexpected meetups, unexpected positive developments because it's a sextile to Leo. So that looks good. Pluto continues its transit through your seventh house of partnership and like key people in your life. So yeah, so this can be where you are experiencing a big change in dynamic in the key people in your life. So, look, some Leos might have got married in when this started back in 2025. If you're an early born Leo, and there could have been also losses. Sometimes when Pluto is going through the seventh house, there's a loss, of a family member, or there's a loss of someone significant. That can absolutely happen too with Pluto in the seventh. You can attract very plutonic people to you, or people that are in a good way changing your life for better or worse, or people that are bringing drama. And it could be a mixture of both. So just something to be aware of, especially for Leo risings. You could feel some Leos could feel that your partner or your partnership is too controlling on you, and you may be feeling like it's very up and down. It's very intense. It's like a roller coaster sort of energy. And so you have to like look at, is this person bringing personal empowerment to your life, positive energy to your life, or are they dragging you down to the depths of, the underworld, which Pluto can do as well. So it could be highs and lows, or it could be a big transformation that you're going through that ultimately could be positive, but it could be initially some highs and lows involved in it. Like I say, the people that are experiencing that most of the early Leos are those born from 0 to 5 degrees this year in 2026. Okay. If you're a late born Leo, you won't be experiencing that just yet. You've still got Pluto doing other things, but this is more for, just like I say, these are little quick, you know, in a nutshell type information. So to give you an idea, if you're a Leo and you want your own chart analyzed properly, like in depth, you can book a reading and I'll go in depth with it for you. And Saturn and Neptune are still they're in your ninth house of your higher mind perspective. So you could be feeling quite serious about your perspective on life. You could be feeling a mixture of seriousness around your spiritual beliefs, but also feeling very intuitive, or a mixture between having faith in things and then feeling disappointed. So it could go back and forth between those two. You could be putting a lot of work into your spiritual life or into studies as well. Chiron just dips into your 10th house uh, from June 2026. Early born Leos will feel that most as a square, like very early born, so 0 to 2 degree Leos. This could be challenging you in some way if you're married, in your married life, in your career, in some other way as well. So that could be a bit difficult. You may be needing to change some things that feel a bit uncomfortable in the career or marriage area. Okay, so moving on from Leo, have a good year, Leo, to Virgo. Hey, Virgo. So let's have a look at your year ahead. So, okay. Wow, you've got Uranus in your 10th solar house, which is a career area. It is making a square aspect to Virgo energy, to your path here. So for some Virgos, there's going to be a change in your career space. So that would be if you're born very early on in the sign of Virgo, or if you know your chart and you're between around 0 to 6 degrees of Virgo. There could be some shake-ups, some unexpected things with Uranus in Gemini, and there could be some changes to do with things around technology, like having a new system, a new like technological system brought in, or a new database system if you work in something, it's computer-based or corporate-based or whatever. Or it can be where you have to use new technology and you're adjusting to that. Um, for your career in particular. It's also the 10th house is the marriage house. It's also to do with authority figures. So there could be unexpected shifts and changes if you're married. If you're not happy in your marriage, this is going to really highlight that, where there could be a bit of a jarring energy or a disconnect between yourself and a partner. If it could be a parent for some as well, where there's unexpected news from a parent or unexpected developments in the life of a parent. Again, square aspect to you. So it's going to be a bit more on the challenging aspect in the sense of you needing to adjust to these energies. Okay. So you are being asked to, in the career space in particular, and if you're married, to look at making some kind of adjustments or changes in these areas. The really good news for you is uh, Saturn moves out of your opposite sign from mid-February 2026. So you've had Saturn in Pisces for the last couple of years or so, which has been draining on you. And it's been draining you from the seventh house of partnership, and it's been draining you from the seventh house of people that you encounter in your daily life. So you could have felt overwhelmed, bullied, antagonized, upset by certain key people in your life, people that seem to have some power over you. So it would be like, could be if you're, you know, with someone that has more authority than you in a relationship, or your boss has got, a lot of dominance or is a very strong personality, that kind of thing. So you're actually getting away from that type of energy as we go into 2026, which is good news for you. So it's mid-February when Saturn actually moves into Aries, and Saturn and Neptune in Aries will be in your eighth house. So that's really going to bring bring some cutting of ties around anything where there's joint finances. So that could be a thing for Virgo. It could be some Virgos might be getting divorced, Virgo rising in particular. Not all, but some. With Uranus in your 10th house and Saturn moving into the eighth house of shared monies, that definitely could be the case. Again, I'm not saying all Virgos, so don't panic. Some. Jupiter is in your 11th house for the first half of the year, which is blessing you through friendship and connections and groups and support from the universe. So this is where you can feel like, there's certain challenges in your life, but you're getting this grace from the universe. You're getting this grace from your friends or people that are reaching out to help in some way, or just a friend pops up at the right time, or someone just, it could even be a family member that's like a friend to you because it's in the sign of Cancer for the first half of the year, is offering you some kind of nurturing support or something that helps you with your security, stability in some way. Dealing with the public, if you deal with the public for your work, you're going to find that dealing with the public is very supportive to you, that people are really giving good feedback to you in the career space. People are giving you validation for what you're doing. People are acknowledging, if you're a creative person, you're putting stuff out to the public, or if you're putting any of your work out to the public in whatever way that may be, you're getting people complimenting you, saying, wow, thank you so much. You really helped me. And this could even be in the workplace if you deal with people just in general, in your career as well. It can be that too. From the second half of the year, Jupiter goes into Leo. So that's going to be helpful to you in your spiritual life. If you want to travel, it can make you feel inspired around travel, creativity, but that's more creativity behind the scenes. So say if you do music on the weekends, you could be really going to another level with your creative expression. Or if you do dance, or something that you don't tell a lot of people about, but you just like have your Saturday dance class and only one friend knows about it. It could be something private kind of creativity, but this is also a beautiful energy for protection from the angels and from the universe, where you're noticing there's some kind of grace around you. You're noticing that if something has gone awry, then something happens to like help you out straight away. And you're like, what's going on? Is someone looking over my shoulder like a guardian angel? Yes. With Jupiter in the 12th house, yes. So there's a special energy around your spirituality, and you might be getting amazing spiritual messages. You might have like a dream of someone that's passed and it feels really real, and you're like, oh wow, I know they visited me in my sleep. Absolutely. This type of energy is very strong. You may feel drawn to a spiritual path in a new way, and it feels very exciting and eye-opening for you, and it's bringing you some inspiration and even some creative energy around your spiritual life. Pluto is in your sixth house. So that's in the work area. So you do have some stress in the work and career area, Virgo. But again, this is early born Virgos. This is not mid or late degree Virgos. You guys don't have to worry about it so much. It's more the workspace and the career space with early Virgos. So that could be a bit challenging for you. There could be power struggles and erratic behavior from people with the Uranus, Gemini, but at the same time, those two planets, Pluto in Aquarius and Uranus in Gemini, do trine each other from those houses. So even if there is chaos going on, the trine aspect can help it, because they're trining each other, I mean, not your sign, but trining each other in the sky. It could help in a way where you may be worried about what's going to happen, but then it actually works out okay in the end. You're having to make adjustments, but you do get there with what you're doing, even though it's a bit frustrating and stressful. So you will get there with things. You do have a lot of support with, like I said, from the 11th and 12th house that I described before. And with Saturn getting out of Pisces, well, I see that as a good thing. You're going to feel less under stress from other people that are important or that have been important in your life. And you'll be able to move away from those sources of stress in 2026 and 2027. depending on your degree. If you'd like a personal analysis, go to my website. I can look at your personal chart because a lot does depend on degrees. These are more for the equal house solar astrology for your rising sign. But if you've got a really late degree of Virgo, it's going to be slightly different. So just be aware of that too. Moving on to Libra. So let's have a look for Libra. What have you got going on? Look, Libra, you got Saturn in Aries in your opposite sign, which is going to be causing a bit of tension in your relationships with key people in your life. Not with everybody, but with some key people. There could be some karmic issues in these relationships, so it could feel a bit heavy. However, you've got Uranus and Pluto helping you out with harmonious aspects to your sign. And with Uranus and Pluto giving you this nice trine, that's actually helping to offset some of the intensity of Saturn and Neptune being in your relationship part of your chart. So it's also helping to bring this like grace and universal support to you. If you're dealing with any kind of unfair situation, we all know Libras hate anything unfair. The universe is going to help to rebalance that ultimately for you. But in the meantime, there may be some stressful things with key people in your life. So think anyone that you see regularly, and not everybody, but certain people, that have that Aries energy, that sort of because Saturn's in Aries, it brings more the negative energy of Aries out in your experience, right? So, and anyone that has Libra placements up to around 14, 15 degrees will experience that. So 0 to 14 or 15 degrees this year in 2026 will experience this tension in your relationships. For some, it's in your marriage situation if you're married. For some, it's a boss. For some, it could be someone else around you. But this person could be very blunt. They could be very, maybe a bit simple-minded or a bit just not understanding of where you're coming from. And there could be a bit of a bully as well. So just be aware of that when there's oppositions from Saturn. It can be a bit of a bullying energy, or someone's trying to coerce you to something, or someone's trying to push your boundaries way too far. And you're going to have to stand up for yourself in some arena. Now, like I said, you do have Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius trining. That's actually going to give you this behind the scenes, maybe a little bit unexpected support, but also support coming from with the ninth house Uranus in Gemini, your spiritual beliefs, positive karma. And if we're looking at where Pluto is for you, for Libra rising in particular, it's fifth house of romance. So for you, romance could be a bit all or nothing, where you're either like really only wanting to be feeling drawn to like a true soulmate, or just like not interested at all. You don't really have time to waste coming up. You may have dated, say, if you're single, right? You may have dated in the last few years, and kind of now you're at the stage where you're like, I can't do this anymore. Either I'm going to meet someone that is just going to come into my life in a very genuine, deep way, or I'm just going to, focus on other things like creativity, entrepreneurship, business, things of that nature, which you can find can be more positive. If you travel overseas, you may meet a love interest overseas that has a bit more of a sense of connection for you because of that trine between Pluto and Gemini from the ninth to the fifth house, or someone that's at a distance to you, or someone that is not maybe necessarily from your local area. That's a possibility. Chiron is just dipping into your eighth house, which is to do with investments. Anything where you've invested heavily in Taurus, building something new, investing in money related things. Just be cautious with, especially early born, very early born Libras. Like if you're on the first few days of Libra, there could be some issues around inheritances, around shared monies being put into creating something. A bit of caution is needed. There could be stuff coming up that's triggering wounds or wounding, or a feeling of vulnerability around new ways of dealing with anything eighth house financial, which could be taxes, loans, debts, banking, anything that's wrapped up in other people's money, investments. I think I said that. So just to be aware of that. Now let's talk about the really good stuff here, which is, not only this is good because you do have, like I say, this trine between Pluto and Uranus in Gemini, which is really helping you. But you do have Jupiter going between your 10th and 11th house this year. So there's a lot of growth in the career area for you, and in the friendship and groups and public, dealing with the public for anything creative. If you're in business, or you're starting a business, or going further into a business this year, this is lucky for that. You can have growth in your career this year. That feels very positive for you. While Jupiter's in Cancer for the first half of the year, up till July, end of July. I believe it is off the top of my head. I'm trying to remember all these details for these. Just know that that's making a square to you. So just be careful of overdoing things in the career or taking on too much or saying yes to everything and not being able to fulfill everything. So just make sure you're having boundaries with yourself, knowing, okay, I'm starting to say yes to everything here. And that is a Libran thing too, to, sometimes, especially Libra rising, being too people pleasing. Just be careful of that. And once Jupiter shifts into Leo, which is more like July, August, then the energy gets a bit more positive for you because it's a sextile aspect for you, which is it's more harmonious, and it just helps you to enjoy life with a bit more ease, especially around your friendship groups, having fun, going out, having some adventures. Creative stuff is going to feel more exciting second half of the year. And again, if you're in business or you're doing anything with the public in terms of your career, it's much more exciting second half of the year where things can really flourish on a whole other level, and you can find you have a lot of luck in terms of dealing with the public. Their response to you is going to be super, super positive. You could have new clients or new people drawn to you. That's going to be really wonderful. Moving on, Scorpio. All right, Scorpio. So let's have a look what's going on for you. So we do have Chiron. I just see that straight away dipping into that seventh house, which is your opposite sign. So especially for Scorpio rising early degrees in particular. If you're later degrees, not so much affecting you yet. But for early degree Scorpio, this could be where you're feeling wounded in some aspect to do with relationships or a heightened sensitivity around relationships coming in from June onwards. And look, even if you don't have early degrees of Scorpio, you may feel some hints of this coming on, and it is asking you to confront something deeper in yourself around relationships or confront your relationships in some way that involves previous wounds, past hurts, and how you're going to heal that or how you're going to repair that. Um, yeah, so even if you don't have early degrees, you may be thinking about this or being aware of this, but it's not going to impact your life as much unless you're born like 0 to 5 or 0 to 3-ish degrees of Scorpio. But you continue to receive supportive aspects from Jupiter in Cancer and also from Jupiter and Leo. So all year you get some blessing energy from Jupiter, which is nice. Now, Jupiter in Cancer up till around June, July is giving you a trine, which is lovely. So that's helping you in a very smooth, nice way to make things a bit easier for you, Scorpio. And as a Scorpio rising myself, we need that. We need a bit more ease, don't we? So everyone knows Scorpio rising life is not easy. So then Jupiter will go into Leo, which is your 10th house of career. So look forward to some exciting developments second half of 2026 in your career area. These are good opportunities coming your way to expand your career, work, business, for some marriage, because it's the marriage area as well. If you're married, this is going to bless your married life. This is going to bring more energy to you, inspiration, enthusiasm, opportunities, abundance, financial boost as well. So the only thing is, because if you have to know your degrees for this, but if when it goes to the square of your exact degree of your rising, just watch out for overcommitting and overindulgence. But other than that, Jupiter is bringing a lot of growth and expansion to your career. If you're in business, expect more clients, expect to go to another level in some way, and expect a boost and a good flow of energy. It's very exciting. So that's wonderful. First half of the year, it's in your ninth house, which is your spiritual life and your mind. So you are feeling a little bit more elevated on some level mentally, and or your spirituality is being boosted for the first half of 2026. Second half is career, married life, and status and outer worldly success. So you can earn more money this year, Scorpio. Saturn and Neptune are in your sixth house, so that could feel a little bit heavy. Again, if you're a later degree Scorpio, it might be more in your fifth house, but again, these are just snapshot readings. If you want your actual chart analyzed properly by me, go to the link below to book a reading. I do year ahead readings as well as chart analysis and other predictions. So, like I say, these are just quick snapshots, but for a lot of Scorpio risings, the Saturn Neptune is in the sixth house of work and health. So you will have to really look at what it is with your health and or your work that you need to, with Saturn in Aries, streamline, change, or start doing new things, restructuring. and it could be a bit daunting or a lot of work. Okay. Neptune in the sixth house is dissolving energy. It's also intuitive energy. So if you work doing something that requires intuition, great. If you are working in something that's very systematic, it could be a bit confusing at sometimes, at some stages, or it could be where there's some kind of new system or structure in your work situation with Saturn. But Neptune is like, it's all up in the air until it's started to get stabilized, and there could be some confusion for some. Health wise, it could be where you, yeah, like I say, you need to take your health seriously and look at what with Neptune, things that are not clear that are undermining you. Are you not getting enough sleep? Are you, are there medications that you're taking that are clashing with other things that you're, doing? Are there things that you're doing that are unhealthy in your routine that is negative escapism? If that's the case, you're really looking at fixing that over the course of the next couple of years with Saturn and Neptune here. With Neptune, it can be some things can be hard to pinpoint what the problem is. Okay, so it could take some work in sort of researching, finding out, getting the right advice from the right people, and all that kind of stuff. For a lot of Scorpio risings, mostly early degrees, Pluto is going through your fourth house, so that's a really intense transit because it's an angular house. It's your home area of your chart, your home life, your family background, your roots, your deeper emotional and psychological needs on a very deep level of your being. So there's a lot getting shaken up here with Pluto very slowly moving into the fourth house. This is a big change. So a lot of Scorpio risings are going to end up relocating at some stage. Again, it depends on the degree of your rising sign. This is general. It's coming in. So expect changes in the family dynamics. There could be big changes in the family. There could be just a lot going on. Pluto's also always this deep, complex, heavy energy. Um, it just could involve a lot of intense emotion and also maybe involvement with other family members, because Aquarius is always like groups as well. So it could be like the family and how the family get together and deal with certain difficulties that are coming up. Also, it could be changes that are slow over the course of the next many years to do with looking at a relocation, whether that's an overseas relocation or just you've been living in the same place for a long time and it's time to make a change. You'll be feeling that coming on. And even though Aquarius is square to Scorpio, which is showing some element of challenge with this, look at if you've got anything in your personal chart in air where you can see a trine happening. So in the sky, you see here, Pluto and Uranus are trining each other from these two houses, from the eighth house of inheritances, other people's money, shared finances, and investments, to the fourth house of home, family, your home itself, the physical home, and your deeper emotions. So you are getting supported by that trine, which is helping. But I would say look to your own chart, see if you have anything else in Libra or Gemini or Aquarius that's getting supported, mostly Libra for another trine. Like if you're a Pluto Libra generation like I am, that's going to be helpful with Pluto in the fourth house trining that. So it's good to know these other things. And that's pretty much it for Scorpio people. Moving on. Thanks, Scorpio. Have a good year. Sagittarius, the centaur. Whoa, I clicked accidentally, went ahead. What was I doing? There we go. I should probably do that. Okay. So Saturn, Neptune, and Aries are supporting your sign in 2026, Sagittarius. That's a good thing for you. Jupiter and Leo also trine Sagittarius for the second half of 2026. So these are all very positive influences here. Also, Pluto in Aquarius is a sextile aspect to Sagittarius, and that's from your third house of your mind. So you might be learning new things and it could be a bit daunting, but you're actually going to be able to work with this new energy quite well. Your mind could be going to a new level of intensity in terms of the way you're communicating. Maybe your communication skills are going into a new phase of skill level in some way. Maybe you're developing your communication or you're being more pointed with your communication. You can see through things very clearly and express yourself very well because of, the things that you've been learning over the last many years. So this is really helping you now. And the only thing that the couple of things could be difficult here is Saturn and Neptune in your fifth house of romance. That could be a bit of a mix of things where you could feel even though it's a trine and it's supporting your Saggy energy, it could feel like you're getting ready or prepared to meet someone for the next phase of your life that is a commitment with Saturn there. But Saturn in the fifth tends to sometimes block energy. But the interesting thing is, like I say, it's making a trine to your placement. So I would say what's happening is you're actually going to be meeting someone that's going to have a powerful effect on you, Sag. If you're single and you're wanting to meet somebody, some Sages that are in long-term commitments with Uranus in Gemini in your seventh house of committed partnership, marriage, partnerships in general, there could be shakeups in your relationships. That again, this is for early born Sages. If you're a bit later born, it's going to come later on. So there could be big changes in your relationship life because of Uranus in Gemini in your opposite sign. People could suddenly do a 180 on you and you're just like, oh, I thought we were doing this and now we're not doing that. It's unexpected with Uranus in Gemini, but ultimately it's to free you up in some way and liberate you. So that's a good thing. And yeah, because Saturn's trining from the fifth house of romance and the fifth house of children, if you have children, your children could be growing up and taking on more responsibility, which you see as this is a positive thing and it's actually blessing your life in some way. Maybe your children are going from like very young years to more independent, and you're like, wow, look at them be independent, and that's a rewarding thing for you, right? It could be something like that. And or it could be around romance, like I said, where you meet someone who's going to have a future influence on you that's positive and brings a new structure to your life, but maybe in the early stages there's some difficulties or complications potentially. uh Chiron's just going to start to shift a little bit into your sixth house of health and work, so you do have to continue to do some healing. Again, this is only going to affect very early stage Sagittarius with a quincunx, which is an inconjunct aspect in 2026. If you're born mid to late Leo, not Leo, Sag, don't worry about it. It's not going to affect you yet. But early born Sages, there might be some things that you're doing with your health that you need to change, that you need to stick to, that are helping you feel better if you've been feeling tired or run down or anything like that. Jupiter is in Cancer for the first half of the year in your eighth house of other people's money. So you could receive more money from things like tax refunds, inheritances, investments, things of that nature. Other types of money could be coming to you from sources other than your earned income, unexpected repayments or reimbursements. And then the second half of the year, you got Jupiter going to your ninth house of long distance travel, higher learning, your spiritual life. So you might find new sources of inspiration. This again is trining you, which is wonderful. New sources of inspiration connected to long distance travel, learning, spirituality, your perspective on life. Expect a boost, Sagittarius, to your mental outlook and your optimism. You guys are usually pretty optimistic, but even Sagittarius can get down when things are hard. And Saturn has been in Pisces in the last couple of years, which has been squaring you, which has been causing a lot of stress in your life. So with Saturn now moving into Aries, harmonizing with you, and with Jupiter into Leo second half of 2026, again, harmonizing, things should be much more positive for Sagittarius in 2026, especially when Jupiter kicks into Leo the second half of the year. You're going to find a lot more blessings, a lot more luck as well. It's your ninth house, which is ruled by Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. Much more luck is coming in the second half of 2026 for you. So patience, you're getting there. Thanks, Sag. If you're a Sagittarius and you want like an in-depth personal analysis, go to the link below to my website and I can help you out with a more detailed, in-depth, specific to your degrees, etc. Capricorn for 2026. Saturn in Aries does square Capricorn placements in 2026. Anyone born between 0 to 14 degrees of Capricorn is going to feel that over the course of the year. So this could be where Saturn is your reality and karmic situations, and it's happening from your fourth house of your home life. Okay, so there is some tension here, Capricorn. There is some stress in the home life. Saturn in the home life, if you're a Capricorn rising, could be your partner, for example. They're going through something, or there's some kind of, with Neptune, some kind of confusion, some kind of like uncertainty. But then Saturn is like reality checks as well. So this can be a bit hard for 0 to 14 degrees of Capricorn for the first, you know, those born in those first stages of Capricorn. If you're a late Capricorn, you won't feel it too much until next year. But there is some change in your home life going on, some restructuring, some shifts, and maybe if you've got kids living with you, maybe one moves out, or maybe there's difficulties with the home itself, how things needing to be fixed that you're like, well, do we have the money to make that big adjustment, that big change? And that could be an issue as well. Um, you are being asked to make these adjustments, though, Capricorn, and it could be putting pressure on you. It could be anything to do with home, family, and also your deeper emotions as well. Even if it's not, say you're single, you don't have a partner, and you're living alone. Say, for example, it could be there's issues with a parent. You have to look after a parent now, or give extra efforts towards a parent who's struggling with their health. It could be something like that. It could be the home itself is needing to be fixed, like I said. It could be some issue with um in the sign of Aries. It could be just something that is asking you to start something new and it's a bit daunting for you. So yeah, it's a bit challenging for Capricorns with that. It's a hard part of the chart to have Saturn in Aries in. It always brings issues with family members and pressure in some way. You have, however, Jupiter in Cancer for the first half of the year in your seventh house of relationships. So this is bringing emotions out into the open, and it can, for some Capricorns, it can improve relationships with some people in your life, like key people that you have regularly in your life. For some Capricorns, it can push the emotions up to the surface where there's been emotions hidden. So it really depends because it's an opposition to your sign. Not necessarily bad, but just it's coming up so that you can grow, basically. Jupiter always is asking us to grow, to evolve. And in Cancer, it could make your relationships feel a bit more emotional for the first stage that it's going into the seventh house. Okay. Once you get used to this energy, it actually can equalize things a little bit more where you get an understanding of, say, your partner where you didn't understand certain things before, but it can still be a bit up and down because Cancerian energy, it's that cardinal water. It's trying to make change. So yeah, it can be a bit up and down, but new relationships can come into your life as well, new connections that are really helpful to you, support from family or strong connections with certain key people that are like soul family or, deep friendships or just family members where you're getting closer. That's also possible. Second half of the year, Jupiter moves into Leo, which is in your shared money area. So this could be where you receive at some stage over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. So even going into 2026, depending on your degrees, some money that comes from inheritance, shared investments, shared resources, tax refunds, a reimbursement, something comes back to you. So it's money coming not directly from your work that you're doing, but from something else. Pluto continues to be in your first house, Capricorn. So this is a very strong energy of you're going through a really deep process of personal growth, and it's not easy. It's asking you with Pluto in Aquarius to step into your personal power, to be your authentic self. And that's why you may be feeling a pull to do so. And that could encompass anything to do with um, your, sorry, it's first or second house, depending on your degree of your Capricorn rising or sun. We'll just say it's in the second house because that's probably for most of you it will be. Uh, this is to do with money as well. So if you haven't been working, you might be thinking, I've got to get a job and get more empowered through work. If you have been working, you might be wanting to change your job. Things like that could be going on as well. Lastly, Uranus in the sixth house in Gemini, making a trine to Pluto in the second house. That says that if you start something new with work, it's actually going to be really beneficial and empowering to you and helpful to your life. So a lot of Capricorns are going to have some kind of new or have been having some new energy around work, business, earning money that's empowering them in some way. And it could incorporate something to do with technology or just doing something different that's unique, your own thing that's liberating to you. And yeah, that was pretty much it for Capricorn. If you'd like your own personal chart analyzed, you can go to my website. I have year ahead readings, which is more personal to you. Aquarius, second last sign. All right, Aquarius. So lots going on. So Pluto in Aquarius which is obviously a huge deal for Aquarians in your sign. It's slowly going through You're slowly going through deep psychological changes and transformation, affecting mostly early born Aquarians in 2026 between 0 and 5 or 6 degrees. So mostly 1 to 6 degrees. Um, Pluto is all about going deep into your own psyche and highlighting things that are, fears could come up. In a lot could come up for you that's involving your personal power. It could be, going out on your own in some way, whatever that means for you. Doesn't mean you're alone, just going out on your own, doing things your own way. And it's really getting you to focus on all these themes around personal power, around digging deep, around deep psychological issues between yourself and another. Definitely can factor in relationships as well. It's changing your life though, Aquarius. So over the course of the next many years, you are going through so many changes. You're eliminating things from the past that you don't need as part of your psyche. If there are things bogging you down on a mental, psychological level, Pluto's about eliminating things that you don't need in order to move forward and be your best version of you. This is about evolution. This is about awakening into who you truly are on an authentic level. So it is powerful, but it is slow. That's why I say, this year it's only up to any of you that have 1 to 6 degrees. And, Pluto spends so many years in a sign, so it takes time. If you're a mid to late Aquarius, you might be feeling this energy a bit, but it's not really impacting your life very much. It's maybe more a bit percolating on the psychological level a little bit. So anyway, biggest changes are happening for the early degree Aquarians, and it can feel hard too. It can feel like you have to face fears and you have to dig deep and you have to change things. There may be things that have changed that you didn't want to change, but you had to change. That's part of this energy. And like I say, you're going through some kind of awakening process. You have Jupiter in your sixth house in the first half of 2026, which is your health and work area. So if you've needed to change things with your health or work, that's what that's been doing, but it's helping you to grow as well. Um, then Jupiter goes into Leo, which is your opposite sign from the second half of 2026, which is about partnership and people that you have commitments with. So, second half of the year is better for relationships, Aquarius. If you've been having any struggles in relationships, things should improve. It can also bring things out on the table in a very much more honest, expressive way. And it's like it can be sometimes a bit of a make or break energy when Jupiter goes into the seventh house because it really emphasizes the energy of partnership and what's going on in the partnership and how everyone feels in that partnership, how the couple feels, whatever, that kind of thing. But it's also, Jupiter in Leo is a very buoyant, expansive, joyful energy, and it can bring a lot of romance into your life, a lot of excitement through partnership. Some Aquarius risings may even get married in 2026. I would say if you're early, early to mid potentially. And you can also find that you meet new people that really bring a lot of excitement and adventure and fun and creativity and inspiration to your life. Not Jupiter, sorry, Uranus in Gemini is making a lovely trine aspect to your sign. So this is giving you benefits in terms of it's in the part of your chart to do with your romantic life. If you have children, to do with kids in your life, parenting, there can be new things that are coming in for those areas of your life. Also, if you're in business, entrepreneurship, doing your own thing, it can be good for that. Well, because you've got a lot of new ideas and you're really able to make decisions quickly, to adapt quickly and move quickly in the areas to do with business. So you may start a business suddenly out of the blue and you start to see, because Jupiter's in your seventh house of partnerships and also this is to do with customers and clients, people coming in, people really interested in what it is that you've got to offer, and it's slowly bringing you into this new path. Now, Saturn and Neptune are in your third house of communications. Okay, so this could be in one way putting a lot of seriousness with Saturn in Aries in your communications, and putting out stuff to do, especially if it's to do with business. You could be putting stuff out there that is business related, that's on social media, for example. But your speech and the way you communicate, you could be feeling Like you have to be very blunt with people with Saturn in Aries, or you feel like it's harder to connect with people on the day to day because there's a heaviness or a seriousness, or your work is so demanding that you just don't have the time to or the space to connect with people. Neptune could be causing some fogginess in your thinking. So just be very self aware. Are you seeing situations clearly? Have you analyzed things properly? Um, don't do anything undermining that to affect your mind or your brain health with Neptune in the third house. Uh, you know, alcohol would be a no-no because it would really just drain your energy. Any substances or anything like that will drain your mental capacity, especially with Saturn and Neptune together in your third house of your mind, your brain. So it could affect your communication in a negative way. You could be forgetful or start forgetting things that are important with Saturn there. So definitely time to boost your brain health, Aquarius. Look at things that support your ability to communicate rather than undermine it. Okay. And you have Chiron just starting to dip into your fourth house there. So this could be difficult for, again, early degree Aquarians. Only those up to 3 degrees will be affected, so 0 to 3 degrees. Other Aquarians may feel this, but depending on other things in your chart, it may or may not affect you yet. This is showing up some kind of issue in the home life, some kind of wounding and healing that needs to happen in the home life or in your emotions. It could just be your emotions, how you feel about who you live with and what the situation is there. It can also be to do with your family background, your past, your roots, your parents, how you grew up. There could be stuff that's coming up on a whole other level for Aquarius rising around that kind of stuff. Okay. So, I think it's a very interesting year for partnership. It's a learning year for your communications and also looking after yourself on the level of how you communicate. Like I said, brain health, third house, not falling into any traps with addictions that could affect your communications, memory, or things like that. And knowing that you're in a long-term personal journey with Pluto in your first house of personal empowerment, of this journey of finding your true authentic self. Let's move on. Okay, the very last sign, and then we finish up Pisces. All right, Pisces. So Pisces will experience a big relief from February 15th when Saturn and Neptune both move out of your sign. Yay! Oh, Pisces, you must be so relieved by that. That it's been hard for Pisces. I know a few Pisces people have been through it the last couple of years. It's been really full on. Of course, with Saturn and Neptune in your sign. And I say last couple of years because Saturn's been there, but Neptune's been there obviously way longer. But with Saturn, that's been really hard work for a lot of Pisces. So from February 15th, you should experience some level of lightening of the load of just how life feels for you. And what else have you got going on? You got Jupiter still in Cancer, which is blessing you with that trine aspect for the first half of the year. And that's in your fifth house of romance, children, let me see, and entrepreneurship and business. So you could have had a lot of, if you're in business, you could have a lot of success in a little bit in 2025, and the first half of 2026 is very good for new energy around business success and all that kind of thing flourishing. And then, it still continues to be good because Jupiter goes into your sixth house of your daily work. So if you know, if you want to change jobs or if you want better kinds of work or, some kind of boost to your productivity, that will be happening the second half of the year when Jupiter goes into your sixth house of health, work, and routine. If there's any health issues that come up with Jupiter and Leo, if anything, Leo rules the heart. So watch out for your heart health. Make sure you're not eating those type of foods that put pressure on the heart or strain on the heart. Don't take on too much work because you could find that your heart starts to feel a little bit sensitive. And watch the caffeine intake, Pisces, if that's something that affects for some Pisces. Salt, it could affect heart. Not everybody gets affected like that, but some people do. But if you do have a health issue come up when Jupiter's in your sixth house, you can resolve it fairly quickly. So as long as you're listening to your body and you're in touch with it, that's a thing where you can resolve it quite quickly. Uranus in Gemini is in your fourth house. So that could be, and that is a square aspect to Pisces. So that could be some jarring energy in the home, whether that's dealing with, whoever it is that you're living with, or parents, or your background stuff from your background, siblings, stuff that just comes up out of the blue. It could be very irritating to you at times. But again, that's only for early degree Pisces, anyone from 0 to around 5 or 6 degrees. Okay. If you're a later born Pisces, it's not going to affect you yet. Saturn and Neptune will be in your second house of your earned money. So, what I'd say about this is while you're looking to maybe restructure some things around how you earn your money, say if you've got your own business, you might be changing the way you do your invoicing or the way you save money or the way you handle your money in some way. There might be changes there. Um, or if you might be wanting to change your job with Saturn in the second house. That's also possible for some. Neptune is also talking about having boundaries here in the second house. So making sure, like, if you've got clients, that they know what the expectation is with payment. Things are clear with the invoicing, things of that nature. If you work for someone else, there could be some confusion around payments or being paid on the wrong day, or, things like that can happen. But overall, that's just one small thing. It is also the second house of self-worth and the physical body. So don't work too hard or push yourself too hard, coming up Pisces, because, you've had the last couple of years with Saturn in your sign. You need to maybe slow things down a little bit or restructure things so that, you can take the edge off the pressure so that your health can continue to be strong. Okay. You do have Pluto in Aquarius in your 12th house of your subconscious mind. So there could be a lot that's at times percolating in the subconscious part of your mind that feels heavy or intense. Stuff from the past could be coming up to be revisited. There may be a lot of things that feel like stuff's getting dredged up from the past at times, but it is a trying aspect to Uranus in Gemini in your fourth house. So what that means is that you do have support from people that understand you, whether it be a sibling, someone that you live with, someone that you're close to, a family member. There is support there. So even though there's some intensity, there's also support. So that's a good thing. And let me see what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Pisces. So it will be after February 15th, you'll start to notice the energy starts to, I can't even talk now that I've done the 12 signs, starts to lighten up a little bit. It's not as heavy as it was in the last 2 years. You'll feel a sense of relief of a lot of burdens. Doesn't mean that everything's perfect, Pisces, or super easy, but it's going to be a lot better for you. Okay. So have a great year. And if you'd like your personal chart analyzed with much more detail in depth, go to the link below to book a 12-month forecast, your year ahead reading, which I offer on my website. And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to join me on Patreon, please do. The links are all below where I post more frequent content. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you'd like to book a reading, the link's also below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fabulous 2026, everyone. Bye for now.